How do you go from goal setting to soul setting? This is a different approach and a new kind of and a different perspective on really how to manifest your true desires and bring in and integrate more of your higher consciousness, of your higher self, of your soul consciousness within your daily life and manifestations. So when we talk about goal setting, it is often really like coming more from the mind. Within the mind we have the ego perspective of all our personalities and identifications, our self-image, our conditioning and all of it. Okay? In one of my previous videos I explained this whole concept of the transcendence of the ego. Let's say we have the ego, which I just described of what it could hold, and then we also have like a higher kind of consciousness and soul consciousness. And when we go through a crisis in our life, for example, when we go through a path of sacrifices and suffering, through a mental health and physical crisis and financial crisis, for example, then sometimes we can go through a part of an initiation, a rite of passage. Like a higher kind of consciousness or light consciousness can penetrate this outer shell, and then it come into our ego consciousness, and it can completely destroy this kind of like ego identity that we have, and then this new kind of ego will be filled up with this higher kind of consciousness. Now, not an easy process whatsoever, but it's part of the process. So when we think about goal setting, we think about all the things that we want to bring into our life of manifestations, material things and all of it, which is great, which is fantastic, but it's always kind of like future orientated. Nothing wrong with that, you know, like, hey, we should work on where we want to go in life and how we see our best life possible. But that can also be part of disconnecting yourself from the present moment. Okay, and then when you don't have that, what do you feel? Not good enough, not fulfilled, not satisfied enough. You think you want to upgrade your personal identity, right? The ego, with trying to identify yourself with luxury brands, cars, you name it, okay? That you want to show to the outside world, because then you will be someone or something, right? So that's kind of like part of the old kind of goal setting material that we have been finding out here on the internet. Think about law of attraction and The Secret and all these other manifestation methods. More important is really like, what is it that our soul really has to learn here? What our soul really has to experience here? Now, I'm not saying like we should completely disconnect from any kind of actions that we should be taking in our life, because here's the thing, you know, like spirituality and actions should go hand in hand, right? We are in a job, we are in a career, we are in a business, for example, that we want to do for ourselves. We always should be doing something in our life, right? Because the actions are always, of course, the bridge between our inner world of our thoughts, feelings and emotions and our external world. But here's the thing, like, we need to have a type of actions that is going to reflect back what we are going to manifest, because our manifestations is always, of course, a reflection of our thinking patterns and all of it, which is part of this ego identification. And then we hit challenges, obstacles and all of it. But then, of course, it is the process, like, wait a minute, you know, I'm hitting a barrier or whatever. I'm going through a challenge in my work. We always need to be able to take a step back so we can step up. We need to relax, and through relaxation we can self-reflect on our actions, behaviors, thinking, state of feeling, emotions and everything, and then we get more into a helicopter overview. We can look down at ourselves from our higher minds into what it is that we are thinking and feeling and doing that is leading us to these results. So it is not like spirituality, for example, is like go and sit in a cave for 48 hours a day and reflect on the purpose of life and all of it and not doing anything at all, right? So, and disconnect from reality, because then you only go around in circles and circles and circles, but actually not going anywhere at all. And maybe you have heard stories of people who find alignments in a monastery as a monk and all of it, and came back to our Western culture and society, and basically they killed themselves because whatever the reason might be. So all of it for spiritual enlightenment. So it is really like, hey, what we're doing on a daily basis is always an invitation of what's going inside of us. But we are thinking we need to set goals because that can get us somewhere. It is more like, hey, I'm doing something, but what I'm doing has the purpose to connect me further and deeper with my inner self, with my soul, and what my soul really has to learn and experience here. For example, you can go into numerology and calculate all the numbers that are coming out from your date of birth, your date of place, where you were born, your whole name, and then all the letters of your name will be converted into one single digit. And then you can calculate your life path, your life challenges, what your ego has to learn, what your soul has to learn. And then you can kind of like figure out stuff for yourself. For example, if you have like a life path number 9, we are here to learn more about the humanitarian kind of mission, right? We are doing something for the human collective, or looking at all our ancestral patterns that has been passed over from generation to generation and breaking down the spell that has been passed over. So this could be part of our soul's journey and soul's calling, and that is part of the soul setting, right? The soul setting. And then how we get out in the world is, of course, is going to reflect back on what it is that we are really here to learn and experience here. So we go out in the world, we get a job, we're working a job, we get frustrated by our employer and leaders or management and whatever. We feel the hierarchy, we feel they want to disempower us, we feel like there's a sense of control over us, and whatever the story might be. Now hold on, once again, take a step back, relax, reflect, so you can grow. So it's also learning really like, hey, how can I let go of these triggers that are coming at me, and then I grow beyond that. I evolve in consciousness. The ego is not longer triggered by all my conditionings and patterns and all of it, and more light consciousness is coming here into my shadow. It's cleaning up the shadow, and then I can really anchor a deeper kind of consciousness of the higher mind, the higher consciousness, into my lower self, and I become more conscious of my daily actions, habits, behaviors, and then I create a more of an alignment between my spirit and soul and my daily actions. So the actions is not really so much like disciplined actions, like I must force myself to go and do this. It becomes more like inspired actions, because to be inspired means to be in spirit. So you're opening up your heart, your soul, your spirit to be of service of the divine. You let the divine communicate with you as a magician, and you therefore bring forward messages, inspirations, different perspective to humanity, so humanity can also grow and heal themselves. So that could be part of this soul setting journey as well. And then also really learning more about self-acceptance, accept where we are right now in life. Even if you look at your bank account and you're like thinking like, wow, you know, some things has to change. but it's also learning about accepting that, embracing and allowing things to come into your existence. That's a whole other kind of challenge, that especially for us when we fear the lack of stability and trust and knowing that something will come to us, and we struggled with safety, security, feeling comfortable within ourselves, and we feel an emptiness or a void within us, a lack of self-worth, and then we must really work very, very hard to the external world in order to manifest these goals and all of it, because then we are someone, because we have something. But there's like a complete misalignment between our true authentic self, and then of course we hit health issues, burnout, chronic fatigue, stress, anxiety, depression, financially, relationship issues, the list goes on and on and on. Alright, which could be part again for another deeper initiation of what it is that really our soul has to bring him. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, and how do you see this difference between goal setting, which is more from the mind, and soul setting, which is of course coming from a much deeper and higher level of consciousness that also exists within us, but only we only have maybe 2 or 3% of that, and because it has been really so covered up by so many layers of conditioning and traumatic experiences and expectations and conditions, you name it, that it's very difficult to really to get in touch with that. But anyway, let me know your thoughts, your experiences, and I look forward to see you in one of my next videos. Take care for now.